prime factors, being able to sometimes just put things in prime factorization helps with reducing a lot. And you'll notice that in your upper level math classes that in order to reduce, think of your prime factorization. Statements about unequal quantities, you've already come up with statements of equal quantities, but what if something is more or less than the other value? How are you going to write that as an equation and then find that number? So as we go through, what is a composite number?
Yeah, it's not one that has more than factors than one.
Not at, and itself. Because we define a prime number to be what? A number whose factors, whose only factors are one in itself. What is the first prime number? 2. 2 is the first prime number. What do you know about the number 1? Yeah, it's neither. 1 is neither prime nor composite.
What is 0?
It's not a counting number, so don't worry about it. So more factors than 1 in itself than the prime number, a number whose only factors are 1 in itself. So express 80 as the product of prime factors. I am guessing most of you did the prime factorization trick. You could do 2 and 40. 40 is 4 and 10. 4 is 2 and 2, and 10 is 2 and 5. So you would probably write your answer as 2 to the 4th times 5. Yep. So you have the end of each one of these. If you do the cake, that's fine. I just don't always like doing the cake because the only thing you can divide by is your prime numbers. And to me, 80, I see it as 8 and 10, 2 and 4. There's lots of different ways you can look at 80 besides just sitting there looking at prime numbers. Express 147 as a product of primes. Well, you see this number 14 and you see the number 7. What goes into 14 and 7? 7, which gives you 21. 21 is 7 times 3, so it's 3 times 7 squared.
You just added the 147, 14, 7.
No, but I see that its numbers, its digits are 14 and 7. So if I divide by 7, 7 goes into 14 twice, which leaves you with 14. Bring down your 7 and it goes in there once. The only way to know if the number is, what's your rule for divisibility by 7? There is no rule. You just have to divide it. But I can recognize that 7 will go in there evenly because of the numbers that are displayed, the digits that are displayed. Okay. And if you want to check yourself, just take 49 times 3. Otherwise, you know that 3 goes into it because what's the rule for 3? So sum of the digits is divisible by 3. So if you add the digits together, you get 12. Is 12 divisible by 3? Yes, so 147 is divisible by 3. It's the way that you can check. Do you remember the rule for 4? If the last 2 digits are divisible by 4, or if the last 2 digits are both zeros. Rule for 5? Ends in 5 or 0. 6? Divisible by both 2 and 3, which means the sum of the digits has to be divisible by 3, and it's got to be even, because we didn't talk about 2, but that's even. 7, there is no rule. 8. Close to the same as 4. What was 4 again? last two digits, or the last two digits are 0. If you're talking about 8, it's the last 3 digits. 9,
Isn't that what you do at 3?
that's the sum of the digits is divisible by 9. If the sum of the digits is divisible by 9. 10 ends in 0. Do you know what it is for 11?
Oh, yeah, it was.
Probably was.
You put the number and then you. Oh yeah, you put the number and you like add them together and then. Oh.
If I ask you, is this number 5,123,467? Is it divisible by 11? Here's what you do: you take the first number, subtract the second, add the third, subtract the fourth, add the fifth, subtract the sixth, add the seventh. So you're just going to go every other term or every other number. So what is 5 plus 2 plus 4 plus 7? What do you get when you add those together? 18. Then you're going to look at the other numbers. 1, 3, 6. What's that give you? 10. The difference is 8. Is 8 divisible by 11? No. So is that number divisible by 11? No. It is not. You either have to get 0 or you have to get a number that's divisible by 11. So for an example, if you get 0, it works. So if you look at this one right here, you have 1 and 7, which is 8, and 8, which is 0. Can you take 0 and divide by 11? That's an okay, that's not a no, so that's okay, that gives you 0. And if you think about it, if you take 17 times 11, do you remember how I told you can multiply by 11? You separate the two digits and you add them together and put it in between. So 187 does work.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's the rule for 11. But anyway, just writing as prime factorization or as a product of prime numbers. The key thing is when we talk about in this lesson that's not so much review, is when you have statements of unequal quantities. For an example, my age is so many years older than your age. How can we come up with an equation in order to solve that? Or you have a sibling that's so many years younger than you or less than you. So same thing, we can write an equation and then solve in order to find the number. So first thing, twice a number. How do you show that? 2x. We're just going from left to right. Then you see the word is. What does the word is mean?
Equals.
Equals. Whenever you get to something that says less than or greater than, what you want to do is you want to leave a space and then put your less than or greater than. If you see the word less than, what operation do you think of? Subtraction. So we are going to subtract 42 from another number, and that other number is negative 102. If I tell you you are 20 years less than, if your age is 20 years less than my age, you wouldn't take 20 and then subtract my age from it, would you? Because you would be negative. So you don't do that. So that less than or greater than, always write it off to the side and put the value after it in front of it, or you're going to get an incorrect answer. All right, so solve. How do you solve that? 2x is equal to negative 144, and then you divide by 2, and if you divide by 2, what is your number? Negative 72. So twice the number, if you take twice negative 72, you get negative 144. That's 42 less than 102, negative 102. This one, if we want to come up with the equation, 5 times the number, 5x. Then you have that word is, which means equals. When he says 72 greater than, leave a space, greater than, plus 72. It's 72 greater than the opposite of the number. How do you show opposite of the number? Negative x. So now you want to solve. How do you solve? I want to move the x over to the other side, so I'm going to add x. 6x is equal to 72, and then as a final step, divide by 6, and if you divide by 6, you get x is equal to 12. 5 times a number. If your number is 12, what's 5 times that number? 60. Is that 72 greater than the opposite of the number? What's the opposite of the number? The opposite of the number is negative 60. And if it's 72 greater than that, where, oh, is your number 5 times a number? Your number is 12 here. If I take 5 times that number, the opposite of the number, that was my bad right here. The opposite of the number should be 12 right here. Is that equal? Yeah, it is. So you get 60 on both sides. All right, come up with this equation, can you? I'll give you a couple minutes. The equation, the sum of what? Well, we have sum, so you find the word and you put the plus sign. So I have a sum. The sum of twice a number, which is 2x, and negative 14. Correct. So now I'm going to change that, and I'm just going to call it 2x minus 14. Are we okay with that? All right. So I'm just going to forget about that for a second and move it down. So the sum of twice the number and 14. Then we got this word is, which means what? Equals. Oh, does it mean that in this case? Is multiplied by 2. So in this case, the word is does not mean equal to. What does it mean? The sum is multiplied by 2. So we have to take the sum and multiply it by 2. Now we have the result is. So now I have another is, and that one's actually meaning the equal sign. 12 greater than. 12 greater than. Leave a space. Plus 12. 12 greater than the opposite of the number, which is negative x. Question on that setup. You got to be able to take it from words and put it into the equation. We're good with that? All right, so now you got to solve. What do you do to solve? Distributive property. We want to simplify each side. The left-hand side is not simplified, so you distribute. 4x minus 28 is equal to negative x plus 12. Now you want to move things. I'm guessing you're going to move the x this direction. Change the sign. And you're going to move the 28 over this direction. So you have to change the sign to add 28 to both sides. 5x is equal to 40. So you divide by 5, and what's your number? X is equal to 8.
And what?
Because I saw him go. You said that. I sat there and watched you. Okay. As you set it up, 5 times the number, 5x, is equals 21 less than. You save some space and put negative 21. Twice the opposite of a number. So twice the opposite of the number. So it becomes negative 2x. To solve, add 2x to give you 7x is equal to negative 21. So if you divide by 7, x is equal to negative 3. All right, looks like you got it down. Better use your study hall tomorrow. Your assignment. Third. Your assignment is lesson 33. 1 through 30.